Thank you for staying with us here on I-24 News with continuing coverage. There is an ongoing raid still going on in this Saint Denis suburb of Paris. This is what we know so far. Reuters is reporting that suspects in the apartment were planning an attack on Paris's business district. At least 2 people were killed, including a female suicide bomber who detonated herself after police entered the apartment. A Paris prosecutor confirmed this report earlier this morning. The identity of the other casualty is still unknown. 7 people were reportedly arrested in the raid, 3 of them in the apartment, 2 others nearby, and 2 others more recently. We're still waiting for word as to who they are. The raid was supposedly targeting the mastermind of Friday's deadly assault, Abdelhamid Abaoud. Saint Denis is the area of the Stade de France, which was also targeted in Friday's attack during a friendly match between France and Germany, in which 2 explosions went off. One man speaking this morning says the people were staying in his apartment, but he had no idea who they were, and he was now arrested.
I found out that it's at my house and that the people are holed up in my flat. I didn't know they were terrorists. Someone asked me to do a favor. I did it. Someone asked me to put up 2 people for 3 days, and I did them a favor. It's normal. I don't know where they came from. I didn't know anything. If I'd known, do you think I'd done it?
And joining us now on the phone is I-24 News correspondent Jonathan Sashardati, who's been in Saint Denis the entire morning following what is going on. Jonathan, what is the situation right now?
You heard just there the man who had the apartment where these people were staying. They requested to stay there for a few days, and now we hear that the chances are they were plotting an attack on the financial district of Paris. This would fit perfectly with them taking the apartment for just a few days, even though it had minimal or no furnishing, so that they could simply organize the logistics of the attack itself. It's believed that Abdelhamid Abaoud was the 27-year-old Belgian who masterminded the attack on Friday, and presumably also a potential future attack. The police have been hunting, of course, for him and others, and in this particular raid today, the Paris prosecutor's office has said that 3 were arrested in the apartment, 2 more outside the apartment in Saint Denis, and 2 dead, possibly a third. So one of those 2 dead was a woman who blew herself up as a suicide bomber. This has been an operation from the army and the police jointly, and they're still here in the region with 20,000 people locked in their homes now, essentially told not to come out for their own safety.
And Jonathan, we're watching live images at this moment as we're speaking to you, but there is word coming in that the raid may be over. Is there still heightened activity, or has it calmed down compared to what you've seen earlier?
No, there is still the same level of activity. In fact, right now, people are running across to the other side of where we are. Most of the press team, something is obviously going on over the other side. So we are just waiting to see exactly what's unfolding. But it's still the same police and army here. I understand that forensic teams are also moving in potentially. So as soon as we know more, of course, we'll tell you.
Jonathan Sashardati joining us throughout this morning from Saint Denis as this operation is apparently continuing on. Now joining us in studio is I-24 News reporter Maya Melgit. Maya, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Reports this morning that after the 7 now that we know of that were arrested, that there was still 1 man holed up in an apartment, and that's why it's still ongoing. What other updates can you give us?
Another update is that there is apparently a second operation underway on a separate apartment, also in the same area in Saint Denis, but not clear where. 2 people have been arrested there. Those are the 2 extra arrests that we've had so far from the 5 this morning. French media earlier saying that the mastermind behind the Paris attacks, Abaoud, was not among those arrested, although this is not yet confirmed. And French police have also tweeted that in the raid in Saint Denis, a number of officers have been injured, 5 among them. And that's about all for now.
Now, Reuters news agency is saying that the suspects in the apartment were planning an attack on Paris's business district. Tell us a little bit about this district.
This district is much like the Manhattan business district, with tall skyscrapers, many businesses, businessmen going there on a daily basis. Very busy area.
All right. Thank you very much, Maya Melgit. You'll be staying with us for more updates. And earlier, Julie Lenars, a political advisor and terrorism expert, joined I-24 News to talk about more terror threats and what countries can do to work together.
We are looking at a different kind of threat than, a decade ago, really, because they have moved to attacks that are very easily planned, with weapons, with small explosives, small groups, sometimes just one or two people engaged in these terrorist activities. And obviously, this is very difficult to detect for law enforcement agencies because all of these sort of interactions you have when someone's planning another 9/11 is not really taking place. So I think after what happened in Paris now, there will be a lot of discussion going on in Europe what needs to change to deal with this new threat. We have to be careful when it comes to intelligence sharing with Middle Eastern countries, at least, well, Israel is a different matter, but with other countries, because we've known in the past that the Iraqis have warned us about threats, and they turn out to be nothing. So they don't have the most reliable record, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But I think we need a lot more sharing between member states of the European Union. There has been a lot of criticism over the last days that, they are still sort of more fighting one another and, spying on one another than cooperating with one another. And what we've seen in Hanover last night, actually, in Germany, perhaps is a sign that things are changing, because we do know now that apparently it was the French police, the French law enforcement agencies that tipped off authorities in Germany about this imminent threat.
And Maya, we do have more updates about this ongoing. Are police now saying that this raid might be over and they're just securing the area, but still a lot of activity in the neighborhood? Yes,
French President François Hollande is actually holding an emergency meeting with ministers at the Élysée Palace, including Manuel Valls, Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve, and the Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, as well as Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius and Justice Minister Christiane Taubira. Apparently, François Hollande is also on his way to Saint Denis to hold a meeting with the mayor of Saint Denis. And according to police, the latest update from police, their priority at the moment is to make sure that all the residents of the Saint Denis area are feeling secure and safe, and that there are no explosive or any other dangers in the area. Apparently, a special counseling center has been set up for residents in the area so that they can receive psychological counseling and help afterwards. Another thing to note is that the man who hosted these 4 terrorists, his apartment, which was the subject of the raid this morning, apparently he has been arrested as well in connection to the raids. He was one of those arrested. He claimed that he had no idea he was hosting the terrorists. Of course, this is a little bit difficult to believe since this was right after Paris attacks.
Chris, we heard that him saying that earlier on in this news report, saying it's normal to let friends stay in the apartment. He had no idea who they were. Of course, very, very questionable. Now, as you mentioned, there are being centers opened for residents, but as of right now, they were told to stay in their apartments and stay put, as this is an active scene.
Yes, thousands of people have been told to stay indoors and stay away from windows in case of gunshots or anything that might happen. The army, there's currently a very heavy military presence on the streets, and some have been evacuated, but most of the people have been told to stay indoors for now.
And panic spreading across Europe as well. Last night in Hanover in Germany, the friendly match between Germany and was canceled due to a security threat. Police received notice of possibly what they were told was an ambulance that had explosives in it after the area was secured and all the fans were evacuated. At the beginning, they did say afterwards that there was no threat, but they were working towards making sure that the area is safe. No one gets hurt. Europe on high alert after Friday night's events. 75,000 people were in the stadium in Stade de France on Friday night, including President François Hollande, when the raids across the capital began. Of course, now Europe reevaluating all its security measures to make sure all their citizens are safe. One of the other questions that's coming into play is the migrant crisis and whether or not Europe will now change its policies to the migrants and welcoming them into their country. Over the last several months, hundreds of thousands making their way to Western Europe. Just to recap this morning, raid in Saint Denis, suburb of Paris. What we know so far, according to Reuters news agency, the suspect in the apartment were planning an attack on Paris's business district. At least 2 people were killed, including a female suicide bomber who detonated herself after police entered the apartment. 7 people were reportedly arrested in the morning raids, 3 in the apartment, 2 nearby on the streets, and 2 others in another apartment in the neighborhood. And of course, we will continue giving you updates throughout this day, so do stay with us on I-24 News for continuing coverage from Paris and Saint Denis. Thank you for watching.